Celia Pender was 24 when she chose Adam Brooks over certainty. At the time, certainty looked like her mother's quiet apartment on the east side of the city, a stable administrative job, and a future mapped out in predictable increments. Adam looked like chaos in a wrinkled suit, ambition burning behind his eyes, and a voice that trembled slightly whenever he talked about what he was going to become. "I just need time," he had said that first winter, standing beside a fogged-up bus stop, his breath curling into the cold air. "I know I don't look like much now, but I swear to you, Celia, I won't always be like this." She had laughed then, soft and embarrassed for him. "You talk like I'm doing you a favor." "You are," he said, and then immediately shook his head. "No, sorry. That came out wrong. I mean, I'll make it worth it. One day." She remembered the way he looked at her when he said that, like she was already part of the future he was describing, like she was written into it. That was the night she went home and packed 2 suitcases. Her mother didn't raise her voice when Celia told her she was moving out. That hurt more than shouting would have. 7 years is a long time to gamble on someone else's dream, her mother said, folding laundry with steady hands. "I'm not gambling," Celia replied. "I believe in him." Her mother finally looked up. "Belief doesn't protect you from disappointment." Celia moved into Adam's small rented apartment 3 days later. The place smelled faintly of instant noodles and old paper. The couch sagged in the middle, the heater rattled like it was dying, and the bedroom window didn't quite close all the way. Adam apologized for everything. For the size, for the noise, for the fact that he couldn't afford to take her out to dinner to celebrate. "I'll fix it," he kept saying. "I swear. This is temporary." She kissed him to shut him up and told him it was fine. First, it was fine. They built routines out of necessity. Celia cooked cheap meals and learned how to stretch groceries. Adam worked late, came home exhausted, and collapsed into bed beside her with murmured apologies. On weekends, they sat at the small table, papers spread everywhere as Adam talked through business ideas that sounded half-formed but passionate. She listened, always listened. When Adam got invited to his first networking event, he panicked. "I don't even belong there," he said, pacing the apartment. "Everyone's going to see right through me." Celia adjusted his tie, fingers steady. "They'll see what I see." "And what's that?" She smiled. "Someone who's going to be dangerous one day." That was the first time she accompanied him into rooms that weren't built for people like them. Rooms full of polished smiles and practiced laughter. Rooms where people asked Adam where he'd studied, who he knew, what firm he was with. Adam stumbled through answers at first. Celia watched closely, stepping in when he faltered, steering conversations, remembering names, making introductions. Afterward, in the car, he stared at her like he'd just discovered something miraculous. "You're incredible," he said. "I don't know what I'd do without you." She shrugged, pretending it didn't matter. But something warm settled in her chest. The dinners became frequent, then endless. Celia learned how to smile while her stomach twisted itself into knots. Learned how to eat just enough to be polite without feeling sick. Learned how to laugh at jokes she didn't find funny. Adam started to change, slowly. His posture straightened. His voice steadied. He started interrupting people instead of waiting his turn. One night, as they lay in bed, Celia pressed a hand to her abdomen, wincing. "You okay?" Adam asked, distracted, scrolling through emails on his phone. "Just my stomach again," she said. "I think the stress." "You should see a doctor," he said absently. "We'll have better insurance soon." Soon became a word that followed everything. Soon they'd move. Soon things would slow down. Soon he'd make it up to her. When Adam landed his first major deal, he came home with a bottle of cheap champagne and shaking hands. "We did it," he said, pulling her into his arms. "This is just the beginning." She believed him, again. As his world expanded, hers narrowed. Her job became flexible around his schedule. Her social life became his professional obligations. Her value, though no one said it aloud, became how useful she was to his ascent. At a crowded gala one evening, Adam introduced her to a group of executives. "This is Celia," he said. She's been with me since the start. She waited for more. Partner, fiancé, anything. But Adam was already turning back to the conversation. Later that night, in the car, she said quietly, "You used to say my name like it meant something." He frowned. "What?" "At the table. You rushed it." "You're overthinking," he said, irritation flickering. "These people don't care about personal details." She looked out the window, swallowing the ache rising in her throat. The proposal came 6 years in. Not romantic, not public, just Adam kneeling awkwardly in their kitchen, holding a ring that was nicer than she'd expected. "I can't promise I'll always be home," he said, "or that it'll be easy. But I want you with me, officially." She said yes through tears, through fear, through a feeling she couldn't quite name. The wedding planning began during Adam's busiest year yet. He missed tastings, skipped meetings with vendors, forgot appointments. "I trust your taste," he said. "You handle it." Celia handled everything. She also handled the nights Adam came home late, smelling like unfamiliar perfume. The way he guarded his phone. The way his eyes drifted past her at events, always scanning the room. One evening, she overheard a woman laugh and say, "You're impossible, Adam," in a tone that was far too familiar. Celia waited until they were alone. "Who is she?" she asked. Adam didn't hesitate. "A client. You laughed with her the way you used to laugh with me." He exhaled sharply. "You're imagining things." She didn't press. Not yet. A month before the wedding, Adam told her he needed to travel unexpectedly. "Just a few days," he said, not meeting her eyes. "Big opportunity." She nodded, forcing a smile. "Of course." That night, as she lay alone in their bed, her stomach burning, her chest tight, Celia stared at the ceiling and wondered when love had started to feel like something she had to earn. Her phone buzzed at 2:13 a.m. A message preview lit up the screen. It wasn't from Adam. It was from a number she didn't recognize. "You deserve to know who you're about to marry." Celia's fingers trembled as she unlocked her phone. And then she opened the message. Celia stared at the message for a long moment, her thumb hovering over the screen, as if touching it might make the words disappear. "You deserve to know who you're about to marry." Her first instinct was anger, then fear, then a slow, creeping dread that settled deep in her stomach, sharper than any pain she'd felt before. She typed back with stiff fingers. "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "Someone who's tired of watching you be lied to." Celia sat up in bed, the room suddenly too quiet, the hum of the refrigerator sounding unnaturally loud. "What lies?" she wrote. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then her phone vibrated with an incoming photo. She didn't open it right away. Her heart hammered so loudly she was sure the neighbors could hear it. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice whispered that once she crossed this line, there was no going back. She opened the image. It was Adam. Adam, unmistakably so, standing in a hotel lobby. His arm was around a woman Celia had never seen before. Tall, elegant, her hand resting comfortably on his chest. They weren't kissing. They didn't need to be. The intimacy was in the way they leaned into each other. The way Adam's face was relaxed in a way Celia hadn't seen in months. Her throat closed. She zoomed in on the timestamp at the bottom of the photo. 2 weeks ago. The night he'd told Celia he was working late. Her phone buzzed again. "They've been together for almost a year," the message read. "She thinks he's leaving you." Celia dropped the phone onto the bed as if it had burned her. For a long time, she just sat there, breathing shallowly, her hands pressed into the mattress to keep herself grounded. Her stomach twisted violently, and she barely made it to the bathroom before retching. When she came back, her eyes were red, her face pale. She picked up the phone again, this time with resolve. "What's her name?" she typed. "Lena Walsh." The name meant nothing to her, and somehow that made it worse. "Why are you telling me this?" Celia asked. The reply took longer this time. "Because I watched him promise her the same things he promised you. And because she just found out about the wedding. Celia closed her eyes. The wedding. Invitations sent. Deposits paid. Her mother quietly proud. Friends congratulating her. Years of sacrifice distilled into a single future moment. She typed one last message. Thank you. The number never replied. Adam called the next morning. Morning, he said lightly. Did you sleep? Celia stared at the wall. Not really. Same, he lied easily. Listen, I might have to extend the trip. Things are complicated. Adam, she said softly. Yes. Do you love me? There was a pause. Barely a second. But it was enough. Of course I do, he said. Why would you even ask that? She swallowed. No reason. After the call ended, Celia sat at the kitchen table and began to plan. Not the wedding. The truth. When Adam returned 3 days later, he brought flowers. Expensive ones. He kissed her cheek, avoiding her lips. You look tired, he said. So do you, she replied. That night, she cooked his favorite meal. Watched him eat. Watched the way he checked his phone when he thought she wasn't looking. After dinner, she spoke. We need to talk. Adam sighed, already annoyed. Can it wait? I've had a long week.
No.
That made him look at her. She slid her phone across the table. The photo stared up at him.
Adam froze.
For a moment, Celia thought he might deny it. Laugh it off. Call it a misunderstanding. Instead, his shoulders slumped. How long were you planning to marry me while sleeping with her? She asked calmly, surprising even herself. Adam rubbed his face. It's not that simple. She laughed once, sharp and hollow. It never is. She understands me, he said. The pressure, the expectations. You've been stressed. I've been sick, Celia said quietly. I've been supporting you. I didn't ask you to do that. The words hit harder than the betrayal. So the dinners, the networking, the introductions, the sacrifices, that was all just convenient? Adam stood up. You're twisting things. She stood too. Tell me the truth. Were you ever going to marry me? Silence. That was her answer. I was going to, he said finally. At first. Her chest tightened. And now? You don't fit into my life anymore, he said, frustration leaking through. I've changed. My world is different. Celia nodded slowly, like she was absorbing a lesson she'd paid dearly for. So I helped you build a life that doesn't include me. That's not fair. It's accurate. Adam grabbed his jacket. I need air. Go, she said. You're good at that. He left without looking back. The next day, Celia canceled the wedding. Not with tears, with precision. Phone call after phone call. Apologies delivered with composure. Her mother cried quietly. Friends offered anger and sympathy. Adam didn't call. On the 4th day, he finally showed up. I didn't mean for it to end like this, he said. She met his eyes. You meant for it to end. Just not with consequences. He scoffed. You're acting like I owe you something. I don't want anything from you, she replied. I want you out of my life. That should have been the end. But 2 weeks later, Celia received a letter from a law firm. Her name was on documents she didn't recognize. Contracts she had signed over the years, thinking they were harmless. Support agreements. Intellectual property acknowledgments. Her hands shook as she read. She hadn't just supported Adam emotionally. She had legally helped build his empire. And now he was trying to erase her from it. The letter ended with a single sentence that made her blood run cold. Mr. Brooks asserts that Ms. Pender has no claim to any assets, financial compensation, or recognition. Celia sat back slowly, the weight of it pressing down on her chest. Adam hadn't just left her. He was trying to rewrite history. Her phone buzzed. A new message. From an unknown number. If you think what he did was bad, wait until you see what he's planning next. Celia didn't answer the message right away. She stared at the phone, the unfamiliar number glowing against the dim kitchen light, and felt something shift inside her. Not fear this time, but resolve. She typed back, "Who is this?" A pause. Then, "Someone who knows how Adam really operates." Celia exhaled slowly. What is he planning? The reply came in fragments, like the sender was choosing words carefully. He's preparing to go public in 6 months. Pio. Big valuation. He's cleaning up loose ends. Celia's jaw tightened. Loose ends? You. Her fingers went cold. She closed the message thread and leaned back in her chair, staring at the ceiling. 7 years. 7 years of shared rent, shared strategy sessions, shared exhaustion. And now she was being treated like a liability. Her phone rang before she could respond again. Unknown number. She answered. Celia Pender? A woman asked. Yes. This is Mara Klein. I used to work with Adam Brooks. Celia straightened. Used to. I resigned last month, Mara said, after I realized how replaceable loyalty is to him. Celia didn't interrupt. He's been quietly restructuring, Mara continued, transferring assets, shifting credit, erasing contributions that don't look clean on paper. And mine? Celia asked. Mara sighed. You were never listed as a contributor, but your fingerprints are everywhere. Celia clenched her fist. Then why is he denying it? Because recognition creates leverage, Mara said. And Adam doesn't like leverage he can't control. The words settled heavily between them. I can help you, Mara said. But you need to understand something first. What? He's already telling a story about you. Celia closed her eyes. What kind of story? That you were unstable, too emotional, that you distracted him, that the breakup was necessary. The sickness rose again, sharp and bitter. People believe him, Mara added gently, because he's charming and successful. Celia opened her eyes. What do you want? To correct the narrative, Mara said. But you have to decide if you're ready for a fight. Celia thought of the letter, of Adam's voice saying, I didn't ask you to do that, of the way he'd looked past her at that gala, already seeing a future she wasn't in. Yes, she said. I'm ready. The meeting happened 2 days later, in a quiet cafe far from Adam's usual territory. Mara slid a folder across the table. Inside were emails, voice transcripts, meeting notes. Celia recognized her own phrasing in some of them. Ideas she'd casually suggested late at night, now polished and presented as Adam's original insights. He recorded strategy sessions, Mara said. You were in the room for most of them. Celia's throat tightened. Without my knowledge? Yes. Is that legal? Mara hesitated. Depends how they're used. Celia flipped through the pages, a strange calm settling over her. So what now? She asked. Now, Mara said. You decide whether you want justice quietly or publicly. Adam called that night. She almost didn't answer. Why are you digging? He demanded the moment she picked up. Celia smiled faintly. Nice to hear from you too. I know you've been talking to people, he snapped. You're making this harder than it needs to be. For who? She asked. For both of us, he said. We could end this cleanly. You tried to erase me, she said. That's not clean. He scoffed. You're exaggerating. Am I? Celia replied. Because it looks like you're preparing to go public without acknowledging the woman who helped build your foundation. Silence crackled on the line. You should be careful, Adam said finally. You don't want to hurt yourself. She laughed softly. You already did that. He lowered his voice. If you push this, I won't protect you. From what? From what people will think, he said. You don't have the reputation I do. Celia's smile faded. So you'll destroy mine. If I have to, he said coolly. The call ended. Celia sat there long after, staring at the blank screen. Then she dialed Mara. Public, she said. I want it public. The escalation was immediate. Anonymous articles began circulating. Whispers in industry circles. Questions Adam wasn't prepared for. He showed up at Celia's apartment unannounced. You're humiliating me, he said, eyes blazing. You humiliated yourself, she replied calmly. You think anyone cares what you did behind the scenes? He demanded. People only respect results. Then let them see how you got them. His jaw tightened. You're making an enemy you can't afford. She met his gaze. I already had one. I just didn't know it was you. That night, Celia received an email. A settlement offer. Silence in exchange for money. She didn't respond. Instead, she forwarded everything to her lawyer. The next week, Adam's company delayed its IPO. Officially, it was strategic reconsideration. Unofficially, investors were nervous. Adam called again, voice tight. What do you want? The truth, Celia said. You won't get it, he snapped. People don't want the truth. They want a story that makes sense. She paused. Then maybe it's time they heard mine. She hung up. The article dropped 2 days later. Not a hit piece. Profile. 7 years. A woman behind the scenes. Emotional labor. Strategy. Sacrifice. The response was explosive. Support. Skepticism. Rage. Adam released a statement calling it misleading. Celia didn't respond. Then a message came from Lena Walsh. He told me you were obsessed, it read. That you wouldn't let go. Celia stared at the words. I just found out he proposed to me last week. Lena added. Celia's breath caught. Her phone buzzed again. I said no. And now he's furious. Before Celia could reply, her doorbell rang. She froze. The bell rang again. When she opened the door, Adam stood there, eyes wild, control slipping. You've ruined everything, he said. Celia took a step back. You did that yourself. You think you won? He asked, voice shaking. This isn't over. She met his gaze, unflinching. No, she said. Now it's beginning. His phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face drained of color. What is it? Celia asked. He swallowed. The board just called an emergency meeting, he said hoarsely. And in that moment, Celia realized the truth. Adam wasn't afraid of losing her. He was afraid of losing everything else. Adam didn't wait for Celia to respond. He turned and walked down the hall, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. Celia watched through the peephole as he paced, running a hand through his hair the way he always did when he was losing control. She closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. Not with fear, but with clarity. For the first time in years, Adam Brooks was reacting to her. The emergency board meeting lasted 3 hours. By the time Adam finally called, his voice was stripped of its usual confidence. They want answers, he said. They want documents. Celia sat at her desk, Mara's folder open in front of her. That's what boards do. You blindsided me, he snapped. You erased me, she replied evenly. Silence. Then, quieter. You don't understand how this works. Explain it to me, Celia said. I was there for most of it. He exhaled sharply. You were support. I was strategy, she said. And you know it. Adam didn't deny it. Let's meet, he said finally. In person. We can fix this. Celia agreed, not because she trusted him, but because she wanted to look him in the eye when he realized he no longer held power over her. They met in a private conference room Adam had once bragged about securing. Glass walls, city views, everything he loved. He arrived late. You always hated waiting, Celia remarked. I've been busy, he said, sitting across from her. Cleaning up damage. She folded her hands. Then we should be efficient. He slid a document across the table. Sign this. Non disclosure. You walk away. I'll make sure you're comfortable. She didn't touch it. Comfortable how? He hesitated. Financially. You're trying to buy silence. I'm trying to protect us both. She laughed softly. You never protected me. His jaw tightened. You're emotional right now. No, Celia said. I'm precise. She pushed her own folder forward. Adam opened it. And for the first time, Celia saw fear flicker across his face. What is this? He asked. Proof, she said, that your rise wasn't solo. You can't use this, he snapped. Some of this is confidential. So was our relationship, she replied. You didn't respect that either. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. What do you want? She looked at him steadily. Acknowledgement. Publicly. That would destroy the brand. Then maybe the brand deserves it. His phone buzzed. Again. He glanced at it and swore under his breath. Investors are pulling out, he said quietly. Celia didn't react. They think I'm unstable, he added. They think I make reckless personal decisions. Do you? She asked. He looked up sharply. Because, she continued, sleeping with your client's competitor while engaged to the woman who built your foundation seems reckless. His lips parted, then closed. You're enjoying this, he accused. I'm surviving it, she corrected.
Adam stood abruptly.
If this goes any further, I won't be able to stop what happens next. Celia rose too. You never stopped anything. You just benefited from it. He stared at her, breathing hard, then turned and left. The fallout came faster than Celia expected. Adam's name began disappearing from panels. Invitations quietly withdrawn. His company's valuation stalled. And then came the smear. Anonymous posts questioning Celia's mental health. Old photos taken out of context. Whispered suggestions that she was a jilted woman seeking relevance. Her mother called voice shaking. What is happening? Celia closed her eyes. He's panicking, Mara called an hour later. He's pushing back. I expected that, Celia said. You're holding up, Mara asked. Celia looked at the stack of messages she hadn't answered. I didn't spend 7 years breaking myself for him to break me now. The turning point came unexpectedly. A former colleague of Adam's went public. Then another. Then a third. Stories overlapped. Patterns emerged. Control. Credit theft. Strategic erasure. Celia's name came up again and again. Not as a victim, as a force. Adam called late that night. You set me up, he said hoarsely. No, she replied. I stopped protecting you. I loved you, he said suddenly. The words hung between them. She closed her eyes briefly. You loved what I gave you. That's not fair. It's accurate, she said, repeating his own words back to him. He laughed bitterly. You think this ends well for you? I think it ends honestly, she said. That's enough. She hung up. The next morning, Celia woke to a notification she hadn't expected. Adam Brooks had resigned. The article was short, vague, personal reasons. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Mara texted, This is bigger than we thought. Celia stared at the screen. Something felt unfinished. That evening, a knock came at her door. She opened it to find Lena Walsh standing there. I hope this isn't inappropriate, Lena said quietly. Celia stepped aside. Come in. They sat across from each other, two women bound by the same man's deception. He lied to me about everything, Lena said. About you. About himself. I know, Celia replied. He told me you were trying to ruin him. Celia smiled sadly. I was trying to survive him. Lena swallowed. He asked me to testify against you. Celia's expression sharpened. And I said no, Lena said. But he's desperate. Celia leaned forward. What else? Lena hesitated. He moved money. Offshore. Celia's heart skipped. When? Last night, Lena said. After he resigned. Mara arrived an hour later, breathless. This changes everything, she said. If he's hiding assets. He's running, Celia finished. Mara nodded. And he's not going alone. As if summoned by the words, Celia's phone rang. Adam's name lit up the screen. She answered. I need to see you, he said urgently. No, she replied. You don't understand, he said. They're coming after me. Good, she said. You're in danger too, he snapped. You think they won't look at you? She paused. What did you do, Adam? Silence. Then, barely audible, I protected you. Her blood ran cold. From what? She asked. He laughed shakily. From the parts of the story you don't know. The line went dead. Celia stared at her phone, pulse racing. Mara looked at her sharply. What did he say? That I don't know the whole truth, Celia replied. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. And for the first time since this began, Celia felt something close to fear. Because Adam Brooks was cornered. And cornered men were dangerous. Celia didn't sleep that night. Adam's last words replayed over and over in her mind, each repetition peeling back a new layer of unease. I protected you. From what? From whom? And why did it sound less like a reassurance and more like a warning? By morning, the news broke. Adam Brooks was under federal investigation. Financial misconduct, offshore accounts, undisclosed partnerships, possible fraud. Celia stood in her kitchen, phone pressed to her ear as Mara spoke rapidly. They froze several accounts, Mara said. They're tracing transfers. And me? Celia asked. You're listed as a cooperating witness, Mara replied. Not a suspect. Celia exhaled slowly. So what did he mean when he said he protected me? Mara hesitated. That's what we need to find out. The answer came sooner than expected. 2 days later, Celia was escorted into a quiet government office. Walls bare, air heavy with formality. An investigator slid a thin file across the table. Mr. Brooks consistently removed your name from formal documentation, the investigator said. At the time, it worked in your favor. Celia frowned. How? Because it kept you legally insulated, he replied. When the company crossed lines, you weren't officially attached. Her chest tightened. So all those years. He used you, the investigator finished. But he also made sure you wouldn't go down with him. Celia closed her eyes. It was the most twisted form of loyalty she could imagine. When Adam finally asked to see her, she almost refused. Almost. They met in a visitation room, glass between them, phones pressed to their ears. Adam looked smaller. Not physically, but stripped of the armor success had given him. You came, he said. I needed answers, Celia replied. He nodded slowly. I didn't want you destroyed. You destroyed me anyway, she said quietly. He swallowed. I thought I was protecting you. By lying? She asked. By cheating? By erasing me? His voice cracked. I didn't think I'd lose you like this. She studied him, this man she had loved, built, defended. You lost me the moment you decided I was disposable. Tears welled in his eyes. I never stopped loving you. That's the tragedy, Celia said softly. You loved me the way you loved everything else, as a resource. He flinched. What happens now? He asked. Now, she said, standing. You face the consequences. Alone. As she turned to leave, Adam pressed his hand against the glass. I was going to marry you, he said desperately. I swear. She didn't turn back. You were going to use me. And then she walked away. The aftermath was quieter than she expected. Adam's empire unraveled methodically. Headlines faded. Investors moved on. Another cautionary tale replaced his. Celia returned to her life slowly, carefully. She reconnected with friends she had neglected, took long walks, learned how to eat without nausea again, learned how to exist without constantly anticipating someone else's needs. One evening, her mother watched her across the dinner table. You look lighter, she said. I am, Celia replied. I stopped carrying what wasn't mine. Months later, Celia received an offer. A consulting firm wanted her. Not as an assistant, not as background support, as a strategist. During her first meeting, a young woman approached her nervously. I read about you, she said. What you survived. Celia smiled gently. I didn't survive it alone. I survived because I finally chose myself. The room buzzed with possibility. And for the first time in years, Celia felt something close to peace. Not because she had won, but because she was no longer invisible. Because her story, her truth, had finally been told. And it mattered. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Urban Folks TV channel, and comment below with your thoughts or experiences. Your support helps bring more powerful stories like this to life.